Able to share my see my screen. My name's Anthony Waters. I'm with Employer, and today the plan is to talk a little bit. Second, let me just move this. The plan is to kind of talk a little bit about something that's quietly shaped hiring, retention, culture in most companies' brands far more than most organizations realize. And that's the true competitiveness of your employee benefits. This is really a topic that's, well, let's call it what it is. Very misunderstood, chronically undervalued, and honestly, it's the source of a lot of HR migraines, as I'm sure everyone on this call can relate. So you're going to walk out of this session with real data from thousands of other companies that, for the most part, HR leaders are not entirely aware of for many reasons that we'll address during today's session. Um, Today we'll attempt to close the most expensive communication gap in corporate America, and we're grateful that you've chosen to spend some time with us today. Like I said, as we go along, if you have any questions, please type those in the chat. And here's how we're going to spend our time today. We'll talk a little bit about the reality of HR and benefits today. We'll go over the benefits perception gap that exists and how companies struggle with it, even though they're not entirely aware of what's happening. Why employee perception matters a ton and how you can kind of work on that and improve that. We'll go over some actual case studies, including a few stories that still absolutely blow my mind. And then finally, we'll talk about ways forward, how to improve benefits communication, how to improve your own understanding of your benefits, how to better communicate them. And then, like I said, of course, we'll have time for some Q&A. It's really my favorite part because that's when we get to dig deeper, ask questions, and have a conversation on what we spent the last 30 minutes during this session kind of reviewing. Just a little bit about me. I'm the Chief Growth and Product Officer at Employer. I've spent almost 20 years in the employee benefits analytics space for some of the top firms in the US. And I'm just really passionate about benefits and how impactful they are both to employees and to companies, and how to just get the most out of all of the money you're investing into them. And then Employer, my organization, we really exist to help companies understand how their benefits compare with independent tools and resources to shine a brighter spotlight on them. All right, so the reality of benefits in the HR space today. We're going to go over a lot here. So, benefits, as everyone on this call knows, are more complex and more expensive than ever. However, employees are also more skeptical about your benefits than ever. In online ratings, which are often written by five people who are mad that you have a deductible and don't pay 100% of their premiums, now unfortunately shape your employer brand online, which is really unfair, and it requires companies to be proactive in communication to confront some of these issues of negative perceptions. But perhaps the biggest issue that teams face is they lack credible, independent data to counter misinformation and inaccurate opinions. I'm sure everyone on this call has bought a car in the recent last decade. And when you go buy a car, you get a Carfax report, which is independent. It helps you know that what you're buying is right. It makes sure that you're informed. Well, that doesn't exist in employee benefits, yet companies are spending millions of dollars on it. So it's not hard to believe that there's lack of accurate data and misinterpretations of what benefits look like. And what this does is it causes strong benefits to look weak. And then it puts HR and recruiting teams in a place where they have no proof to prove that what they are offering is really good. I always like to tell stories. So recently, a CHRO at a 700 employee manufacturing firm just told me that, hey, Anthony, we spend more than benefits on any competitor we know of, and we've done our research. But if you actually looked at this company's online reviews, you'd think that they were offering coupons instead of insurance. That was her exact quote. They just see a ton of negative comments. Their team gets a ton of bad feedback that their benefits are expensive. But yet, all they can say is that, no, trust us, our benefits are really good. We've done the research. So when we ran the analysis, their benefits were in the top 10% of their peers, but perception was shaping their brand online, and they were really struggling with it. And I think most companies really face that today. And so as we jump in, we're going to do a quick poll. Um, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the benefits at your company? If everyone could just kind of chime in, feel free to rate how you think your benefits are, whether they're a one, a two, a six, a seven, a 10. We'll kind of utilize some of this data as we go along. All right, looks like most people are participating. All right, we got some really good scores, some people who love their benefits, some average scores. Um, I'll just wrap this up for now. One second. All right. So it looks like the most common score was a six, with the next most common score a seven, and then some fives, and then a 10. So really kind of helpful to see that. So I think we have a plethora of different information about the quality of benefits. And as everyone knows, imagine spending millions on your benefits and not having a way to communicate the value. And that's kind of benefits in the US today. And every employee has their own opinion, just like you have your own opinion. Yours is more informed than an employee because you know benefits better. It's your business. And whether right or wrong, that those employees do have those opinions. 6 out of 10 employees actually rate their benefits as average or below average, even at companies with really strong plans. So even companies at great benefits are often viewed as mediocre. Um, So, when choosing an employer, the challenge is that benefits are the number two priority next to compensation as the most important factor when an employee chooses a role. So, if benefits drive decisions this strongly, imagine the impact when employees don't understand them, or you as a company don't promote how good your benefits are if they actually are a 10. To my friend here on the call who voted their benefits a 10. Imagine your benefits are actually a 10 and no one knows it. It just really impacts your ability to hire talent, to keep employees, and to really validate the amount of money you're spending to offer those really rich benefits. The other thing is, and we'll launch another poll now, is how do you think your employees would rate your benefits on a scale of 1 to 10? Um, I think this is always fascinating is that you have HR teams who think their benefits are a 9 or a 10, and then you have employees who think otherwise, or vice versa. These numbers are all much lower that are coming through the polls. The most common answers are three, four, five, and six. So the most common answers when I asked you all how you rate your benefits were six, seven, eight, some tens. The most common answers now are a lot lower. And this really speaks to the chart on the screen right now. And that's your average employee thinks you spend far less than you do on your benefits. The average company spends about $23,000 from an investment standpoint. Cut that in half, and that's what your employees think you invest in them. Huge, stark, drastic change. And if benefits are the number two priority for employees, as we looked at here, and they think you're only spending half of what you are, it's a massive issue. And which gets us to the benefits perception gap. So we also have a second. I think we also have. All right. So the above slides and data points show us something that kind of needs to be addressed, and that's employees consistently believe their benefits are worse than they are. I think everyone here has heard the feedback. Our benefits are awful. My friend at X company pays nothing. Our deductible's too high. Our PTO is too low. Meanwhile, you're likely offering a really rich plan that's above market, just perceptions overcoming reality. And here's why the misunderstanding is really persistent and why there's a lot of misunderstanding in the market. People make assumptions based on what they hear from others and from their past experiences. So let's say one of your employees previously was at a company who was much different and was able to offer a different tier of benefits. And now they come to you, and without understanding that the industry or size of the company is just different, it's not that your benefits are really bad, and vice versa. They can look at premiums with no correlation to quality and say, hey, this plan's super expensive. My plan at my last company was only $20 a month. However, their plan at the last company had an out-of-pocket maximum of $100,000, which is ludicrous, but there aren't ways for you to kind of prove that and validate that against peers. The other part is that Online reviews really reflect the truth of what you're offering. And HR teams just don't have any external credibility. So if you get an employee that comes to you and says, "Hey, like your benefits are terrible," well, how do you respond to that? Because most employees understand core plan elements, and 82% underestimate your contributions. So, in order to combat this, I know many companies provide total reward statements, which is a great thing to do, but there are a lot of challenges and they don't always have the intended impact on perception. If an employee thinks your benefits are terrible, how much you spend on them doesn't really matter to them because they still think that they're terrible. The other piece is if you show them how much you're spending, they tend to focus on the comp side because everyone wants more actual money. And then the other piece is that a lot of employees don't even view their pay stubs, so they might not even be seeing that total comp statement. So it's a great step forward and it's a great thing to offer in transparency, but they don't really do everything that companies wish they would do from that perspective. And here's what the data actually shows. 58% of employees with above market medical plans still rate them poorly. 45% of negative reviews online are factually inaccurate. And employees trust third party ratings more than what they trust what they're hearing from their companies. And so this tells us something crucial. Employees don't just need information, they need validation and they need consistent transparency. I know there are a lot of stats and numbers here, but it's truly eye-opening. 64% of candidates research benefits reviews before even applying to a job, meaning you could be losing candidates before your recruiter even says hello or before they even apply to hear from your HR team about all the wonderful things that you offer and do. We worked with one company recently whose negative online narrative was suppressing applicant volume by nearly 40%. Once they got our analysis and started utilizing our independent data in their hiring process, time to fill drops significantly, and then their job applications went through the roof. And they didn't change their benefits, they just changed how they communicated them and ensured that perception aligned with reality. And here's kind of why perception matters. It's because the costs are incredibly real. Low engaged employees, retention issues, losing candidates, they're all real impacts of kind of, real dollars being lost. And these costs are quite high. For those here who do recruiting, you know that it costs between kind of 50 to 200% of a salary to replace an employee. There's a $50,000 plus lost productivity cost per disengaged employee, and slower hiring pipelines really impact departmental goals and company growth. So having poor perception definitely has significant financial impacts as a company. So now that we've covered the importance of benefits, how they're undervalued and underappreciated, let's talk about the data and the current state of benefits benchmarking, which is a crucial piece of the problem here. We do have one final poll here that we'll kind of kick off and ask everyone. So the question is, do you receive benchmarking consistently from your broker? Yes or no? And then if yes, how satisfied are you with what you're being provided? Meaning, you know for a fact the data is of your peers, it's statistically relevant, it covers every major benefit that you offer, it shows you what your peers are paying, meaning it's comprehensive and you have a really good understanding when you're getting that. What's fascinating is that we have I mean, 70% of participants here are not consistently getting over 73% are not consistently getting data from their broker. Of those that get them, half are satisfied, half are unsatisfied, which really says a lot. I mean, if you're spending hundreds of thousands of $1 million in benefits, you should have independent data that shows you across every benefit that you offer what your peers are doing, what they're paying, what they're contributing, and then what you're offering relates and rates against those. Well, thank you for that poll. So, and that's kind of why there's a disconnect. Most brokers are only able to share with you data on their clients, and you're going to benchmark well against their clients. It's how the broker consults. They're using all of the same carriers. But the challenge is likely your broker does not advise for your biggest competitors. And so you're being benchmarked against a biased data set with none of your peers or competitors included. So how can you truly know if your benefits are competitive when one, you're not getting benchmarking consistently, and then two, the benchmarking you are getting is only of your broker's book of business, which is very small and very siloed, and you will benchmark well against your broker's book of business. So there's a lot of issues there, and companies need better information to understand this. What's really fascinating is, like you should be benchmarked against specifically companies in your market, of your industry, in your same size segment. And if there aren't, a ton of groups in your broker's book, then it's just not actionable for your organization. I put a quote from Gallagher, who's a top 10 brokerage, that says benchmarking provided is often classified as insufficient and not aligned with relevant peer groups. Just because the broker firms aren't designed to do this, they don't have the data and the mechanisms to provide you this information, which is why independent organizations like us exist to provide, more credible benchmarking data. I recently met with a CHRO of a company who said, my broker gives us really comprehensive benchmarking. We discussed it a little bit further, but the data was only from their clients, as we mentioned. And I asked, like, how many of competitors do you think your broker has data on? She thought they were a lot. Well, I looked up their broker's book of business, and that broker only had one client, even remotely similar to their industry or size segment, and they weren't even a competitor of them. So here you have the CRHRO getting this benchmarking, thinking that it's representative of the market, thinking their broker had a lot of their peers as clients, but yet they didn't have any, and they're being benchmarked against companies that really don't make sense. So there's a really low bar in this space of data and benchmarking that kind of companies have better resources to kind of understand. And see, we see similar data from Mercer, the largest broker in the US on benchmarking, data that just isn't sufficient or representative or actionable. And this is a huge gap in this space. And so when companies don't know if their benefits are competitive, well, flawed benchmarking leads to flawed strategies. How can you make good decisions? How can you brag about offering amazing benefits if you yourself don't know what your peers are offering? And that's the biggest challenge in this space. And what it does is it creates those negative perceptions, disengagement, turnover, and those high costs to replace. My favorite part here is the case studies. And we'll actually look at a real life companies who've come to us with some of these gaps. This is a real company who we just went through this process with. Their employees rate their benefits a 2.4 out of 5 across 261 reviews. That's a significant consensus. Now, as we actually ran the analysis on this company's benefits, we took all of their benefits data across medical, dental, vision, life, disability, PTO, and 401k, and we ran a comprehensive assessment against their peers. And their benefits were in the top 90th percentile of their peer group. They're contributing almost $50,000 on a family plan and $25,000 on an individual plan, well above market. As we look at their medical plan, their contributions are in the 90th percentile. Their employees' biggest comments online was that their premiums were high. Their employee premiums were half of market. Their deductibles were below market. Their max out of pockets were below market. And their HSA contributions that the employer provided were triple what their peers were giving them. Same on the family plan. Their family plans were half of market. Total premiums were half. HSAs were like 4x market, max out of pockets half, deductibles low. And so here's a company who has this terrible online perception, a bunch of bad reviews, yet the data shows that their benefits are in the top 90th percentile of their peer group. It is a massive disconnect that they previously had no proof on. And then after partnering with us, they gave this data to every single employee, and they included this in every single offer letter that they gave to every candidate. And it completely changed their perception overnight. And that's how big the disconnect in this space is and why companies need to start having better data on true peers and competitors to make sure that they know how their benefits stack up in the market. Here's another example. Here's a brand everyone knows. I just had a a Pepsi Zero earlier, but basically, looking at Coca-Cola Company versus Pepsi, they contribute 2 times more to their employees' retirement than Pepsi does. That's a massive difference. Yet no one in their HR team or recruiting teams ever talked about it. They had no clue. This wasn't going out in any of their hiring. This wasn't being added to their open enrollment. No one talked about it because companies just don't know what their peers are doing and how they stack up. And this is how valuable this information is. If you can understand how you stack up against your peers and what they're doing, it gives you a really easy communication path to tell your employees and to candidates in the market. Now, e- I know we went over this, but a lot of times HR teams misjudge their benefits. Last November, we met with HR leaders from over 150 companies, and this is fascinating. Just like I asked everyone here today to rate your benefits from 1 to 10, uh, everyone rated their benefits. 70% of the HR leaders underrated their benefits. 70%. So let's say if your benefits are actually an 8 and you think they're a 6 or a 5, that really hurts your strategy both from a retention and recruiting and open enrollment standpoint. Because if you don't know your benefits are better than you think they are, you're not bragging about them. You're not making them a part of your recruiting strategy. You're not able to answer the question confidently when employees say, "Hey, how are the benefits here?" You can say, "Actually, our benefits are awesome. They're an 8 out of 10. They're in the 80th percentile." So 70% of HR leaders underrate their benefits. 20% overrated their benefits, which is even scarier because these companies are telling the story, hey, we offer amazing benefits, yet their benefits were not amazing. So essentially, they were lying to their employees about the quality of their benefits, which is not great. And only 10% knew exactly and guessed accurately on how they compared against their peers. So only 10% of seasoned HR leaders from over 150 companies guessed correctly on how their benefits actually stack up to their direct competitors and peers. Now, the other question that we asked, which was if your employees would agree with the rating, 80% said no, they would not. They said that they employees would rate their benefits lower. And that's exactly what the poll that we just took showed as well. Most of the folks on this call rated your benefits higher. And then when we asked if your employees would rate them lower, you all said yes in pretty large part. So this is just a chart that really speaks to the problems in this space and why there's a lot that needs to be done here. And so really the key takeaway is most companies don't have a benefits problem. They have a communication, understanding, and perception problem. And that's great news because it's really easy to fix. And this is kind of what we do. And we have a free invitation for everyone on this call. But basically, the solution is every company should have a full peer-aligned analysis on how their benefits compare to their peers every single year, at least once or twice per year. And so you should have a definitive viewpoint across medical, all the way through ancillary PTO and 401k on how your cost contributions and benefits stack up against your peers. From us and just a little bit of employer who those who don't know us, we're the only and largest independent benchmarking database in the entire United States. We've run benchmarking just in the last year on over 75,000 companies and growing daily. Your average broker only has a couple thousand clients. So we're like 20 to 30 times the size of any broker's book of business, and it's all independent and not biased. And so within our data set, we compare companies' benefits to their peers. So we use your size, your location, and industry, and then actually compare your benefits to your peers. We show you how they rate, and we show you what your peers are actually offering, paying, and contributing, which is awesome. We can even compare you to multiple different markets or industries. For instance, last week we had a company who's in the gas business reach out to us wanting benchmarking because they were struggling here. Well, they have a retail component, a transportation component, and an oil extraction component. So we ran 3 different reports on each sides of their business, and they knew how they stacked up across each side. I know a lot of companies have multiple facets of their business, and we can benchmark you against multiple of those. Um, but really, kind of what our data's goal is to give you transparent scoring that eliminates confusion and misinformation. And all you need to do is upload your benefits guide, SPDs, SBCs into our secure platform. We extract all your data. We compare you versus your peers. And then we'll actually give you a free analysis and we'll walk you through for free how your benefits actually stack up in the market. We'll share your score with you, which is super cool because the power of clear competitive positioning allows you to communicate confidently about your benefits. It allows you to better educate your employees. It makes sure that there's an increased perception of the value of your benefits. It helps people make better decisions around open enrollment in time. It helps with recruiting pipelines and narratives. It just allows you to build a better total reward strategy for your employees on your second largest investment. And what's really cool about our analysis is it does full benchmarking across your medical. So funding, stop loss, contributions, premiums, HSAs, HRAs. We actually will show you what your peers are doing and what they're paying and how you rate in those, all the way across dental, vision, disability, life, voluntary benefits, PTO, workplace flexibility, leave structures, holidays, parental leave, and then retirement, your contributions, plan features, plan returns, and then admin fees. So giving you a full comprehensive score across every benefit that you offer against your peers, which is just awesome. And so kind of the way things work and our offer to everyone on this call today is for joining is everyone can get a free benefits analysis. We'll send out a link after the call to a page where you can just upload your benefits guide securely. We extract all the data, and then we'll jump on a call with you, your HR team, your recruiting team, and we'll walk you through your score, which is super awesome. What's really cool though is in addition just to running an analysis, we also do benefits awards for companies that allow them to promote the quality of their benefits. We're the only company in the US who does a benefits award for employees. And as you go back to our second slide, benefits being the number two priority, having an award for that is really valuable and important. I know a lot of companies do great workplaces, which rates on culture, but culture is like fifth down the list on what employees find the most valuable for a company. And so, as part of the process, we'll also provide award badges, social access, award posters, featured profiles on our platform. And so, we give you everything that you need to finally prove that you deeply care and invest in your people. Here's how companies use these in their enrollment guides, social media posts, CEOs posting in market, chief people officers posting in market, website footers, LinkedIn banners. So companies are taking their award and then the data and the proof of their benefits, and then they utilize our assets and see 21% improved retention, 32% faster time to fill roles, and then a lot better recruiting pipeline. So from an awards and materials standpoint, we have the full analysis, badges to use across different websites, a full rating report. So this is a document you would add to offer letters to your open enrollment guide that shows that your benefits have been independently certified. It calls out what makes them phenomenal. And companies use this as an employee-facing document that they give out at offer letters, at open enrollment, at salary reviews that show exactly how your benefits rate against your peers. We do posts on social channels, which generate hundreds of thousands of impressions. We also partner with the local business journals and we'll release your name in the local business journals. We give you email signatures for your badges for your email signatures, which will be front and center in your emails that promote your awesome benefits, posters to hang in your offices and bring to career fairs, a profile on our platform that links back to your careers page. It just gives you guys everything that you need to consistently promote and showcase that your benefits are above market. And so again, our free offer to everyone on this call is if you'd like an analysis on your benefits against your peers that's independent and secure, we can send everyone a link. Or Kelsey, I don't know if you want to add the link to the chat as well, but there's basically just a link. You can securely upload your benefits guide. and then we'll schedule time to walk you through your score and let you know if you qualify for the award that you can choose to access at that point. Um, Kelsey, were there any questions that folks had that we can answer?
Yes, thank you. And everybody, please continue to submit them, and we will make sure to get to them all. But the first one I have here says, my broker gives me benchmarking, but I'm not sure if my peers are included in their data. And any advice for navigating that?
Yeah, we can definitely help with that. Every broker for groups over 100 lives has to file their full book of business through 5,500 filings. And so we can scrape those and tell you how many clients your broker has within there. But I would say even aside from that, say they have two or three, it's still only their book of business. It is important to get an independent analysis run on your benefits that aren't your broker's clients. Because again, your broker is incentivized to use the same carriers very often and they consult a very specific way. I would always get an independent analysis run, even if your broker is providing you this benchmarking data.
Perfect. The next one here says, we're around 120 employees and don't consider our benefits elite. Are companies like ours actually eligible for the benefits rating award?
Absolutely. So, like a company with 100 employees isn't going to be compared to a company with 1,000. Your benefits could be elite for against other companies with 100 employees in your same state in your same job industry. So, you don't know until you don't know. So, I would tell you to, run the analysis. We're giving it to everyone here for free today. So, we'd be happy just to run the data and let you know how you rate. If you qualify for the award, great. If not, you at least know what you need to improve across your benefit suite.
And I think this one touches on that a little bit too. It asks, when you say peer aligned, what does that actually mean in the analysis?
So when I say peer group, it's really a three-dimensional cohort. So we take your size, your industry, and then your location, and then we only compare you to companies within that. So size, industry, and location.
Okay. And then this one asks, how is the benefit award determined and what specifically qualifies a company to earn it?
Great question. So your benefits have to rate above market competitive to qualify. So we basically take all of your benefits, we rate them against your peers, and then if they're above market competitive, you'd qualify.
Okay, this one asks, what exactly do we need to upload to get our rating and how long does the process usually take from start to finish?
Good question. So that's the easy part. Usually we just need your benefits guide. You can just upload your benefits guide or email it to us. We run the analysis within a business day, and we can usually schedule time within 24 to 48 hours to get back on a call and share your score with you. So yeah, it's just really just your benefits guide. If you don't have a benefits guide, we would just need like your SPD or SBC, just your benefits docs, and then we'll extract the data from it. We'll run the comparison. All of it's completely secured and confidential and private. Again, we do this for over 75,000 companies per year. So yeah, it's all kind of confidential, secure. We just need your benefits guide, SPD, SBC, whatever benefits docs you have. You can upload those and then we'll scrape the data and then run the analysis.
I think you just touched on this one, but just to reiterate, this question asks, once I upload my documents, are they shared with other companies?
No, they're completely private. Your data is scraped from them for the analysis purpose, and then it's not used beyond that. It's all private and confidential from there. Like I said, we've done this for 75,000 companies in the last 12 months. We're the only and most trusted place for this. If we gave away your data, we'd lose that quickly, and it just wouldn't be worth it.
Okay, great. We have two more here. This one says, is there a minimum spend or plan richness required to receive a rating?
No, we'll rate everyone regardless. So like after you submit your docs, we're going to run an analysis on your benefits versus your peers. Every piece of your benefits will be rated and scored, and we'll show you what your peers are offering and how you rate. So, you don't have to score within a certain threshold to get your rating. We'll run that no matter what.
Perfect. And then the last one I have here, unless anybody has any final ones that they want to submit, asks, can you give an example of how an HR team used the rating to respond to employee complaints like our benefits are expensive or my friend's plan is better.
Absolutely. And this does all of that really well. My favorite piece is the rating report. So every time you get an employee that says our benefits stink, or you get an employee that says, hey, how are the benefits? All you need to do is provide them this certified report. It's a full summary, one pager of your benefits, and it shows across your medical, your ancillary leave, retirement, and your additional benefits, what makes them great. It kind of brags about them and it gives it an independent stamp from an outside company. Every company's always going to say, hey, yeah, our benefits are amazing. Like, trust me. And that's great. But having a one-page document that you can just shoot over and send to any employees when you have questions is a lot more powerful and a lot easier. So I would say this document outside of the badge is the number one thing that companies really love about our award because it allows them to have an independent certification of their benefits to share with candidates, employees, offer letters, etc.
Okay, perfect. And then I did see it looked like somebody tried to raise a hand. I'm not sure if you want to submit a question in the chat or come off mute or if that was
Um,
by
You
accident.
can't, Kelsey, you can't come off mute in here.
Oh,
So you'd have to add that to the chat. But we did have another question. Will this be a saved webinar so I can send the webinar to my boss? Absolutely. We're going to send the recording out to everyone who attended. So, and we will get you that recording here shortly after the call, along with the link to the place where you can upload your benefits guide if you want to get that analysis and have us walk you and your team through it. Are there any other questions from anyone? Please feel free just to go to the chat or go to the question Q&A. If you click on more and go to Q&A, you can add a question there, or you can go to the chat, either way. But again, we're going to send you an email so you'll have our contact information in case you have any other questions or anything else hits you after this call that you wanted to ask. But we're really thankful that you chose to spend some time with us today. We hope that you learned something valuable that you can take away. And if anyone here wants to get that comprehensive rating on your benefits, it's completely free for anyone who joined today. So just let us know. We're trying to do some really good work in this space and help spread some transparency. So thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to hopefully working with you. If there are any questions, let us know. We're going to send out an email with the recording and the upload link in case you want to get that rating. Thanks everyone so much. Have a wonderful day.